Petchey Academy. We're the team of Titus Andronicus. I'm Zoe, the director.
I'm Maya Thomas, I play Lavinia.
I'm Brian Cloud, I play Bassianus.
I'm Sinead Pounder and I'm the stage manager.
And we're going to answer some of your questions that Nick has given us. The first one I have is, why did you choose to set Titus in the 80s? Well, I'm an 80s baby, so I've always been fascinated by the music and the fashion. So for me, I just thought it'd be really exciting to kind of explore that whole skinhead era with the Shakespearean text. Really, I just woke up in the morning one day and I had this vision of this skinhead spouting Shakespeare, so I just kind of went with it and that was it. And the next question on this sheet you have is, why mix vernacular with Shakespeare, aka lots of swearing? Was because I wanted to keep the performances from the actors as truthful as possible. And these characters, while they're in action, would use that kind of language and would say these things. So it was really important to us that we kind of mixed the two to give the play realism. And also I think it helped you guys in the scenes when you didn't have text to speak. It grounded it, didn't it?
Yeah, very much so. If you're on stage and things are happening around you, as opposed to just freezing and, to maintain liveliness, etc., be in the moment, these characters would swear a lot. And have their own little conversations, and for us it was also great for relationships between the characters and backstories that brought everything together and I think kept it alive on stage, yeah.
Do you want to do your question next?
Yes, I've got, how did you feel with the nudity and sexual content? How did you approach this? I think one of the first things that sort of Zoe and I spoke about when we sort of started working on it last year was the fact that we're portraying rape and the fact that rape is not pretty. It's dirty and noisy and it smells bad and it's drooly and there's nothing attractive about it, and to try and pretty it up would, in my opinion, would be to piss over anyone's experience that had to go through it. And for us it was really important to make sure that we do justice. If there's one person in the audience, male or female, that went through it, we want to do them justice so they know that to try and keep it genuine. And also, people don't necessarily see the sort of stuff. People tend to see it prettied up, or they read about it in the paper, and to see it right in front of you, I think it forces you to acknowledge it. So nudity just came with it. I'm not a fan of full nudity on stage unless it's needed. I think that what we show, the top half of the body, is shocking enough for people, and it for me as a performer, it makes me feel exposed enough and vulnerable enough to genuinely feel humiliated in front of the audience, and to genuinely feel humiliated with my fellow cast members. So for me it really helped me sort of connect with the moment, definitely.
Yeah. I think, the main thing we were thinking about when we tried to approach the subject was to treat it with respect, because I've seen a lot of productions where a cast member or an actor has been sexually attacked on stage and it was just kind of glossed over. So we wanted to make it a real event without being gratuitous, but at the same time treating the subject matter with respect.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Your question?
It says, have you learnt anything new doing this production? Spatial awareness. Okay, so it's very important with a lot of fight choreography that you know where each of you are on stage. We've had a few incidents that you kind of need to iron over. So it could be a lot of broken noses and limbs and things like this. So it's very important that you are very comfortable with who you're working with, and you can put a lot of trust in each and every one of them, even people who aren't particularly involved in the fight choreography, because they can maybe resolve a situation if something does escalate and maybe get seemingly out of control. It's still nice to have that kind of level of respect and trust with your fellow colleagues. Safety is the big issue. So.
The big issue. That's actually quite good, because your question links in with what have you learned on this production as well.
True. My question is, how do you do the blood effects? So it's quite simple really. We get very cheap nappy sacks from the pound store and we fill it with pre-made blood. We don't make our own blood for the show.
Machine washable, because there's a lot of blood.
Oh yes, a lot of washing every day. And then we tie them really tight. We put in as much blood as we want. And then it's they burst quite easily. We attach them with plasters to the actors, but quite a lot of the blood effects and the way they work is a lot down to the way the actors do it, especially with the angle grinder, because the two actors that are restraining the two boys that are tied up, they hold the blood pack over their neck. So it's got to be very tight so that when they put pressure on it, it like explodes and goes everywhere, and it's really gory. So,
Tarantino style.
yeah, so we've learned quite a lot about blood on this production and a way to make it proper and make it super gory, because we love the gore.
Adding jam to it, strawberry jam.
Yeah, we had jabs to the
bits.
blood mouth, show blood clots coming out the mouth.
So gross, it's unreal.
We thought a bit too much about it.
It's
We
quite,
love it.
it's quite tasty, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it tastes like sickly
You shouldn't
sweet.
eat it, but it's quite tasty.
It's like
So-
syrup.
It stains your fingers, makes it look like you have a fake tan, but it's cool. We can deal with that.
I have another one, which is, why are there not as many women in the cast? Well, first of all, in the original script, there are only two female speaking parts. But for me, actually, what was quite interesting about it is that not that the women in the play are masculine, but they have very masculine tendencies, personality-wise. So for me, that was really interesting that it didn't change the dynamic on stage, having these individual females there, because their kind of testosterone and anger levels were so high, they kind of matched the men. Which
Especially in our treatment of it. with
in our
kind
treatment.
of skin girls and goth landladies, etc., that sort of thing,
Yeah, so I quite like the dynamic, because it doesn't seem to... Yeah, it's just quite fascinating how it all kind of blends in, and it seems more like a pack mentality rather than having these female external things. Have you got another one?
Yeah, this one says, how do you approach Shakespeare's language? So,
I hate iambic pentameter.
yeah,
I hate it with all the passion of the fires in hell. It doesn't work for me. I don't think it makes sense. It lulls people to sleep. Dee-dum, dee-dum, dee-dum. So for me, as a director, the first thing I always do is forget the iambic. Break up the text. Put little exclamations in where you feel like they would naturally come. Choose the words that for you are the most passionate in the line, and forget the rhythm. And that's my main thing as a director, what I try to push the actors towards. I mean, I don't know how...
well, I like the iambic pentameter as an option. I like everything as an option. So when I get the text to begin with, I look for where, like you say, where the rhythm works. There's some points. I mean, a few approaches say Shakespeare wrote it so it works with the heartbeats. He gave you punctuation so you know where to breathe and you know where to go, and it's meant to show something about the emotional state of the character. I think especially in this context, because we've put it in a different era, it's not period based, there's no hoity-toityness to it, it's very earthy, very grounded. I don't think iambic would work in our context. It would just be repetitive and monotonous and boring. Sometimes the text demands it, and then, like you say, it just comes out naturally. But like Zoe, I'm not a fan of being religious about anything, especially not Shakespearean language. I think he was so experimental with his writing. He would absolutely love the fact that people are mucking about with it and being playful with the language and with the rhythm and with his punctuation. But what I really liked within our context is how the fact that we used our own, like these specific accents and that earthiness that comes with them, I thought it heightens the text very much, especially, in my opinion, the way Stanley delivers Aaron's lines with a very thick Jamaican accent. It's so... I've heard Shakespeare in many different languages and many different accents, and I always connect with it, like Zoe does, a lot more when it comes with a very genuine feel of language and of accent and of a place, as opposed to the sort of notion of RP or heightened whatever it is that no one... it's very difficult to connect with it, whereas here I think it's easy for people to get the language and the context and what we're actually saying, because the delivery is so close to home, as well as what you were saying yesterday about intentions. The intentions are so direct because there's no masking, there's no RP to mask your intention, it's just the way you would speak. So I sort of like how natural it feels,
Yeah. I think that's... we answered all
Yeah.
we have.
Thank you for the question.
Yeah, and thank you so much for coming. I was sitting near you guys, and I thoroughly enjoyed all your reactions. I'm so glad you enjoyed it. Well, it looked like you enjoyed it, if you can enjoy it. But anyway, thank you so much for giving
Thank
us
you
your
very
questions.